It is.
You can fix all of Greece's financial problems by giving them all the diamonds you just used to make this drill bit.
You can literally buy Greece.
Welcome to the What's Our Verdict podcast, where we fashion ourselves cinematic judge and jury. My name is JJ Crowder. I'm here with my co-host, Javier Ortiz.
What is up, my nerds?
And Ian Anderson.
Some shit.
We appreciate your help growing the podcast by hitting that follow and subscribe button. Go ahead and tell a friend about us. Check out our website, whatsourverdict.com, where you can listen to all of our episodes. Sign up for our newsletter to get exclusive content and updates. Pick up some sweet, sweet merch. Interact with us and listen to our What's Our Verdict TV episodes as well. The question we always ask is, if you ever find yourself wondering if you spend the time, money, or both on a movie, to help with that question, each week we put a movie on trial, discuss the facts, pass judgment, and let you know our verdict. Today we're reviewing Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard. It was released June 16th, 2021. It was written by Tom O'Connor and Brandon Murphy. It was directed by Patrick Hughes. It stars Ryan Reynolds, Samuel L. Jackson, Selma Hayek, Frank Grillo, Antonio Banderas, and Morgan Freeman. Bodyguard Michael Bryce continues his friendship with assassin Darius Kincaid as they try to save Darius's wife, Sonia. If you haven't seen this movie and you want to avoid spoilers, now's the time to pause, go watch this movie, find the same shame that we're about to express to you, come back, pick up where you left off, because we're about to spoil the shit out of this thing.
Yeah, I feel bad that I am going to rate this movie higher than like In the Heights and other movies that deserve to be rated higher.
Yeah, like this movie is such an enigma because I watch it and I go, oh, God, that was one of the most entertaining things I've watched in a long time. And yet I feel bad for how I've rated some of the movies we've watched compared to this movie.
Yeah. I was thinking about that all last night and all this morning. Like, oh, damn it. Like, I made fun of a dude for liking Parasite on Instagram the other day, and I'm gonna rate this movie higher than that. Like, oh, jeez.
Yep. This movie is I don't even know what to do with this movie. It blows my mind.
I don't even know where to start. I'm going to start with guns. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah. That seems fitting.
The gun use is just irresponsible in this movie. First of all, freaking Sonia picks up like an M4 or whatever, and she just cranking away at the sights. Like, what are you doing?
Well, she's in a hotel room, like pointing it at the ceiling too. It's not like she's like,
and then
David's up.
Yeah. And then she just like storms a compound with this thing, nailing headshots with a sight that she totally fucked up. You can't sight in a sight just by looking down the barrel at a freaking hotel room ceiling. And yeah, she's like pointing it at the ceiling at one point, and I love how they call him out though. At one point, the agent fires a gun into like a parking lot ceiling, and Ryan Reynolds is like, "What if someone is upstairs?"
Yeah.
There's like a part where they somehow get each other's magazines, right? And they start emptying it. I'm like, does no one have a round chambered? We're like in the middle of this firefight, and we take each other's magazines, but like anyway. So I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on, like how the best assassin in the world has a bolt action rifle, fires off 4 shots in a second and misses all of them. But, like we won't go there.
Yeah, no.
But then Samuel L. Jackson can take one shot and pop 2 guys in the back of the head at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we can start at the beginning. There's dreams.
What was the beginning?
What?
Oh, yeah, the therapy. Yeah. Oh, the worst therapist ever. You graduated therapy. Don't contact me anymore.
Well, I just love, like, that's how you know. So the opening of this movie is him getting the AAA rated Bodyguard of the Year award or whatever it is. Then he wakes up because obviously Darius Kincaid, Samuel L. Jackson's character's face keeps popping up in the middle of his dream and chasing him out of the award ceremony. Then he wakes up, like you said, he's talking to this shrink who just progressively wants nothing to do with him. And then, like, you could tell in the middle of this movie that it's going to be ridiculous because she's like, yeah, you've graduated therapy. And he gets all excited about it. I'm like, come on, no, everybody knows that's not how therapy works. Like, you don't just graduate it and go, I am done.
Dude, the whole time through this movie, I'm like, this guy is both an absolute moron and so lame. He's like the lamest person ever. Like even the pocket knife that he has is like a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah,
It's not even like a cool knife.
Well, and I think that's the difference. So we can start the comparisons. And Javier, we know that you haven't watched the first one, which probably made this even better for you.
Might have been for the better.
Yeah, because the first one, the big difference between is he's very inept. Like that's the whole thing with the first one is he's lost his AAA rating as a bodyguard because Samuel L. Jackson's character assassinated this guy with the 1 in a million shot through a plane window from like 2 miles away or some shit. Like they explained that the shot should never have been able to be made. And he didn't know through most of the movie who killed this guy until like 3/4 of the way through. It was kind of like how in this one you find out that Ryan Reynolds is the dude that shot Sam Jackson in the balls.
That's a W for me. That's an L for you.
Take the L.
Take the L. Take the L.
Look, that whole scene was almost identical to how Ryan Reynolds finds out that Sam Jackson's the one that killed Kurosawa. And so it's like 3/4 of the way through the movie. And then he's like explaining, he goes, yeah, so when you said it was because of this, like I didn't say anything, but that was me that took that shot. And they have this big fight or whatever. But like, I just love like how they let go of all reason in this movie. Like you mentioned, Javier, in the spoiler free that Ryan Reynolds gets hit by a car at least 4 times in this movie.
Yeah, he gets hit by one or gets into a car accident, right? Of some sort. One of which has him fly through the windshield while holding the steering wheel, which I guess is from the first movie.
Yeah, it's an exact replica of a scene from the first movie. And he pops up immediately.
He also gets hit by a shotgun and he notes that his ribs are broken. And I'm like, I've had one rib broken before, and it is impossible to do anything.
You can't even breathe because your ribs expand and you're like, breathe.
And he's like crawling up this hill, like Italy. And I'm like, couldn't do that. I couldn't do that.
No.
When he does get shot by the shotgun, they give him a sea burial. They just kind of throw him over the side of the boat.
Sam Jackson says some stupid shit, and Selma Hayek's character's like, "You should have been a priest." He just dumps him headfirst into the canal.
I like how it's underwater. He's face down, and it's like an underwater shot of him waking up and freaking out, and then it cuts to him on shore, soaking wet, being like, "What is wrong with you people?"
Well, just to add to Javier's guns comments, I don't know how a shotgun blast knocks you out for a couple hours.
Well, I think it was more the fact that he flew 6 feet into a bar. That's what knocked him out for a couple hours. Because
that's true.
Yeah.
Also, Ryan Reynolds spends a lot of time unconscious in this movie.
Yes, he does.
Like, there's that time, and then he gets drugged.
Lithium.
Okay, what is lithium?
Is that like a?
I thought lithium was for. Yeah, I thought they used it for schizophrenia or
bipolar. I can't remember what it is.
That's funny.
Yeah, so it's used for mental illness, including bipolar, depression, schizophrenia, maybe used for other conditions. I have no idea.
Because, dude, he was tripping balls for a second there.
It's funny that, like, the whole movie, she's talking about wanting to have a baby, and then, like, she just randomly has lithium in her pocket that she hands him, thinking it's a painkiller. I'm like, oh my God. The nuanced implications of what that means for her, like, she has lithium, which means she's either stolen it, which is entirely possible, but it looked like it was a prescription.
Yep. Looks prescribed to me.
Yeah, which I wouldn't say that it's difficult to say that she has some mental instability. I mean, she's running around just screaming, and every time she would go off in Spanish, I really wanted to look over and what did she just say, Javier? Except it's like obviously crass and just out there.
Some of them I could not make out what she was saying.
Oh,
because there was like so much going on and she was just like screaming through these. But like usually she was saying things like in the you could hear what she was saying in the when he was on sabbatical at that little beach place, and she's like the hijo de puta motherfucker, like basically, and that's all she says in Spanish like the whole time.
Yeah, she lost it quite a few times. So for her to have lithium wasn't terribly surprising.
And where is your shirt?
Yeah. What I love is she's unbuttoning it as he's like trying to jump around and be all slick and sly. And she just goes to the front door with her boobs hanging out and shoots everybody.
Like, I said, no killing, no blood. And she's like pulling a knife out of this dude's neck and no gun. And then she just points behind her, just lights this dude up, checks all the boxes for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, great. That's how this movie's gonna be. Cool.
Oh yeah.
What was her British accent? That was who was fooled by that? They're like, no one questioned this ridiculous accent that she has. She's like this freaking hardcore Hispanic chick trying to talk in a British accent. The thing that they pick up on is that she's too old.
Yeah. Well, not to mention like the ridiculous blonde wig that she has on.
Clearly a wig.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, she walks up and Ryan Reynolds like shouts at her across the bar. That sounds completely Mexican. Like, it's just like, what is in the middle of a firefight? Like he's criticizing her accent. Like, Jesus.
Oh my gosh.
I did laugh though at that same scene in that bar when she's pretending and like they start calling her old and Ryan Reynolds is sitting back there going, oh, here we go.
No, he gives up. He's just
and
like
the countdown starts. Like he's just like 4, 3, 2, and then all hell breaks loose because she cracks from them calling her old.
At one point, Darius snipes this dude off of Michael. He's like, "AAA my ass."
Yeah. After his little hand here, Darius, and he's laughing as he shoots the dude in the head. I did laugh too because the whole time Darius is there with his sniper rifle watching, and the guys are hitting on his wife. You motherfucker!
I should blow him away right now.
Yeah. I don't even know what to talk about with this movie, guys. Like,
maybe we could talk about the plot of like this movie, which is
this is the most confusing, elaborate plot in a movie I've ever seen. I just loved how they would drill into these boxes and like put a virus on and the city would just pretty much explode. Like I don't even know how you fight that. Like cars are driving off the road. Like I think there was a train crash or something like that, right, Javier?
Subway gets derailed. I don't know if that is the default for subways losing power. I sure hope it's not these trains flying off the rails.
Well, and it's like, that's not how that shit works. Like, you can't just drill into a junction box and then all of a sudden you're plugged into the network. Yeah.
It's like, in their defense, JJ, it's a diamond drill. Yeah. And when I say diamond drill, I don't mean like your typical diamond drill. I mean a drill that's studded in diamonds. Yeah.
It looks like it's a bedazzled drill bit. It looks like seriously some 12-year-old girl has taken this drill bit and glued every diamond on.
I want to know who pitched that idea. Like,
seriously.
Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, obviously diamond is the hardest mineral on Earth. So, but people aren't going to know it's a diamond drill unless, you know, it sparkles. So
bedazzled on the end of it with that, and it's like sparkling as it spins. When I love that, like they're like, yeah, they're in this parking lot, this random pole that has this junction box on it that's wrapped in tungsten. Apparently, I'm like, wait a minute. So they just got random tungsten carbide boxes sitting in a parking lot that you have to drill into.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. If a junction box can do that much damage to the city, you wrap that shit in diamonds as sparkly as you want. Or that's just irresponsible of the city.
Hire that same 12-year-old to bedazzle that box and it will be good.
And then what? You drill it in and then he's like, and then you just hack in. I'm like, wait, what? You just put a hole in this junction box and then you're just in?
Yeah,
you're just in the grid?
Yep, you just push enter on the keyboard and the whole fucking city explodes.
It literally explodes. Yeah, there's like cars on fire, like as they're doing a pan through. I'm like, what? What happened to these cars?
Seriously, like that moment, I was like, wait, okay, so I can understand needing the diamond quote unquote drill to get into the tungsten box. But then you're just automatically, what does it have, a USB on the end of this drill bit that just kind of like pops in? Like, what the hell? How does it connect to the network? And then why does it explode? So stupid.
So stupid. Like, and then they don't even recognize that. They're just like, yeah, this is happening. Yeah. No explanation is offered. Just this is how this movie's going.
And then I love like I get that it's satirical, right? Like it's making fun of other action movies that have ridiculous plot MacGuffins that make no sense.
Stupid technology. That's
but like I think the best part was then they go to the end. So they're doing the whole plot of this movie then becomes they're trying to get this network to show like the central hub of this grid in Europe so that they can not only tap into it, but explode all of Europe except for Greece.
Yes, Greece is like the Texas of Europe.
Yeah.
They're on their own different grid and network.
And then the whole point of this is because this is the central hub in the ocean, the drill bit's just huge.
Why? That was my other thing. I was like, A, why is this thing in the middle of the ocean? And 2, why is this drill so big?
Yeah.
You don't need it to be this big. You could have the same size drill as that you had in the beginning of the movie. Like, why is it so big?
It's just this huge, phallic, diamond-studded drill. And I'm like, why would you waste that many diamonds? You can fix all of Greece's financial problems by giving them all the diamonds you just used to make this drill bit.
You can literally buy Greece.
It's so big. You know how many diamonds you need to stud this fucking thing out? Oh, God.
This thing is like, imagine if you just put 4 wheelbarrows together. Yeah. It's like that size. It is huge.
Oh, fuck. I'm dying over here. This shit is just so stupidly hilarious.
Okay.
Well, and then can we mention the fact that Antonio Banderas is like, and they lean into it. It's not like he's like a transplant to Greece. Like they make the comment, and he's from Spain. He is Spanish.
He's not Greek.
This guy is Spanish. And like 3 times in this movie, he's like, I am a proud Greek. I'm like, and even Ryan Reynolds says he's a Greece. He's a native Greek or some shit. And I'm like, what? And
like he's pronouncing Greek words as you would in Spanish, like a Spaniard.
And again, I mean, it's satire, right? Like this is a whole them making fun of the fact that we have a problem because we go, oh, here's the top actor, and we put them in his position to play a part that they have no business playing.
Like Matt Damon in that movie,
in the Great Wall of
China.
Yeah. Or Scarlett Johansson playing a character that was supposed to be Asian, that's based on an Asian cartoon and comic series. But like, it's just like, yes, I mean, so it's completely satirical. And I think that's when I really started to lose my mind laughing at this movie, is when I realized, and Casey had this comment last night, that this movie's so stupid, and yet it's so intelligently done in a stupid way, because that's what they're doing. They're making fun of Hollywood and action movies, and and the first one did it too, but they only did it in a way that let's make fun of how ridiculous action movies are. Mm-hmm. This one, they were like, fuck that. Let's make fun of everything.
Yeah.
And they went balls to the wall on making fun of everything.
Even like Ryan Reynolds getting in 9 car crashes, getting shot like 100 times, like even and just going on the movie like nothing happened. That in and of itself is a huge burn to action movies where the main character just takes all this damage and just keeps going like it's no big deal.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Well, and then like I laughed so hard at the beginning, like after they they shoot that guy, or Darius Kincaid shoots a guy in the head, and all that blood splatters onto Ryan Reynolds. And he starts, and I laugh because he starts doing this gag thing, but then it shows him in this scene next time they're in some gas station, some random gas station, and they're standing there arguing, and nobody says anything about just like covered in blood. Like they just sell him all this shit, and nobody says a word to him, and he's just covered in blood. I
didn't notice that. That's funny.
From head to toe, and they're just walking in public like it's no big deal, covered in blood.
For some reason, this is popping into my head right now. But Ryan Reynolds, the story about how Ryan Reynolds' mom dies was
so crazy.
That whole 20 minutes of you meet his dad. His dad ends up being Morgan Freeman. And Samuel Jackson is like, what the actual fuck?
I love too, just to pause you on that one, that they fuck up that saying, because we all say what the actual fuck. They kept saying what the absolute fuck.
Oh, is that what they're saying?
Yeah, throughout this whole movie, what the absolute fuck. But yeah, that was a great moment when Sam Jackson kept trying to bring up the fact that Morgan Freeman's black, and Ryan Reynolds kept throwing other shit like, is nobody going to acknowledge that? What? That he wrote a book? Like
that he's famous? I know you're nervous, but to me, he's just Papa. Even the way he said Papa was just like, you're so lame. I hate everything that comes out of your mouth.
It's terrible. But I couldn't help but laugh at it. Like I was just sitting there giggling.
Oh, and then he's like, maybe if you looked more with your heart and less with your hate to a black guy. It was so funny.
And the ironic part is just the fact that Samuel Jackson gets confused for so many other famous black actors in interviews and shit. Like,
oh yeah.
So like the fact that it was Sam Jackson with Morgan Freeman. Oh God, yeah. He's like, are we not going to acknowledge that his voice is just so lusciously deep and beautiful? Like,
and then they have Gelato, and Gelato apparently is a trigger point for him.
Yeah.
Because his mom got crushed by like a 300-pound dude who got ejected from a roller coaster. And it didn't just crush her. I thought that dude would just fall on her.
Yeah.
It propelled her into another ride. And then she got splattered.
Yeah, she like got misted. Like it was like when somebody
pink misted. There was like no body to bury.
No, it just
she popped is basically what happened. And then the subsequent scene of Sonia going out to console him, and she's like caressing his leg, which was weird. And then she just drops in, and how you're obsessed with my boobs.
Yeah.
When you pushed me out of the way of the shotgun blast, your hands gently cupped my boobs, and I could just hear the little boy in you saying, "Mommy, please don't die." No.
So stupid.
So stupid. What?
But we just couldn't help but laugh.
You've got to be on another level as an actor to take that kind of content and like be able to deliver it in a way that is as entertaining as this movie was. It's like I don't get how they weren't. They must have been busting up laughing on set all the time.
Oh, for sure. They had to have been. Well, and that's like, I can't even imagine, because Ryan Reynolds is funny. Like, I don't know. Like, I follow him on Twitter and Instagram, and like, he puts out some hilarious content, which is why I say, like, he's one of the funniest dudes out there right now. But I can't imagine being on that set, Ian, like you were saying. Like, there's no way that the blooper reel for that movie is not like 3 hours long.
The blooper reel is probably a better movie than this movie.
That's fair, because I'd love to see just like the amount of ad lib that Ryan Reynolds like just starts going off with some of these lines, because I bet it's just epic.
How do you even like the serious characters delivering serious lines? Even those were lame. Like, how do you deliver these lines with a straight face?
I don't know, but it's impressive. Well, and then let's talk about Grillo, Frank Grillo's character, this weird ass Boston guy.
What is he doing in Europe?
What's he doing in Interpol?
They don't explain that either. He just wants to get back to Boston. I'm like, what are you doing here in the first place? And also, this is a lot of felonies to commit to go to an average American city.
Yeah.
Slightly below average, maybe.
Well, and he's just this random dude that's got the worst Boston accent, which I think, again, leans into that satire thing. Like, I think they were saying, here's all these cops are from Boston. Like, there's always these cop movies from Boston, right? So it's like, here you have this Boston cop that's stuck in Interpol in Italy and Greece and whatnot, just wanting to go back to Boston. But he's got this terrible Boston accent throughout the movie.
He's absolutely ripping the Scottish chick, right? Where he's like, asshole. Dude. She's like, Esol. It's a very common Scottish name. He's like, okay, William Wallace. Which...
Well, then later on, he randomly goes, Sean Connery over here is going to do.
Also, like, what is Boston known for? Don't they have a ton of, like, Irish people or is it Scottish people? Like,
Irish.
There's no way he doesn't know what Scottish people are like, right? But it is Irish. You're right. Okay.
So funny. So stupidly hilarious.
So dumb.
Well, and then, so I laughed really hard too at this moment when, so Ryan Reynolds throughout the first movie makes people in his car put on their seatbelt. Like, he's obsessive with this seatbelt shit. So there were two moments that the payoff was so great from the first. Like, you talk about the scene with, he's talking about his mom, how his mom died, and he's out on this swing. And he's got this chain seatbelt on that is shown when he finally is done with it. And he gets up from the thing when she's talking about her boobs. He like unhooks this chain seatbelt thing. And then the second part that I laughed at was when they steal this van and they're driving and he's in the back, like high as a kite without his seatbelt, getting
with a
tossed
shovel,
around the van.
Smack him in the face.
And at the very end, they stop and the shovel just dink right on his head. Oh.
She's like, he didn't wear a seatbelt.
And not a single bruise on this man, like, throughout the movie.
Yeah, nope.
Yeah, he should have been dead 12 times over, but he's just standing there, like, with everybody else's blood on him the whole movie.
Oh, gosh. I got super lost in the plot line as far as, like, what we were doing at any given point, right? Like, she had the suitcase with the coordinates or... something about the EU like power.
Yeah, the grid system. Layout.
And then they put a bomb on her wrist and they couldn't separate, right? And I'm like, okay, so that's going on. And then that's all the plot progression for a good hour.
Yeah.
Right? There's like nothing else going on.
Just running around with this suitcase trying to hide.
Yeah. And then we get to Anthony Banderas' house, right? And I'm completely lost. I'm like, oh crap! Like, what's going on here again? What is he? What role does he play again? He's the main bad guy, right? He has a hard on for Greece because he's quote unquote Greek.
Yeah.
And like, I just remember that scene. I'm like, I'm so lost. What's going on here? I caught back up after a little while, but I got so wrapped up in the absolute ridiculousness, and I completely forgot there was a plot line. Like,
well, and another one of those satirical moments when she goes through. I fell off this boat and now I have amnesia. And like the ridiculous amnesia storyline in every action movie, like Jason Bourne and like all this shit. Like, I was laughing so hard at them just making fun of every famous action movie ever.
I did.
And then them bringing Bourne up Overboard.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Overboard.
It's a mid-level classic.
Mid-level classic.
When like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson escape from being tortured, and they're walking through, and she goes, Ryan's like, didn't you find something weird about this amnesia story? What am I thinking of? Like, and you know that moment we all have when you're trying to think of something and it's right on the tip of your tongue. Yeah, and it's like, this is gonna bother me until I remember. And he's like, Overboard, and he remembers the name of it. And he goes, I feel so much better now. Like, they just got done killing everyone, and now he's like, oh, it's great.
As a side note, I love the part where he's like take him to the torture chamber. He's like, did he say cha-cha chamber?
Yeah.
No, he did not. It's like, do you have separate torture chambers?
Well, then they end up in the same room. Like,
literally shoulder to shoulder.
Hanging there. And I did love that moment when he's like zapping Samuel Jackson. You see that in the preview where they're tasing him and they're just both laughing. And he's like, that's just going to make him more mad. So funny.
What comes after that? Is it Gary?
Yeah. Well, no, at first it's the pep talk. So the pep talk, I died. So he gets knocked out again somehow, Ryan Reynolds, and he's laying on like the sidewalk, and Sam Jackson's listening to all of his voicemails to himself to future.
He flew through the windshield and then got hit by another car.
That's right. That's right. Got ran over again. And then he's laying there. And Darius is listening to all the voicemails that he left for future Mike. Laughing his ass off at him. Then he's like telling him, he's like, no, he goes, you're going to say it. I'm unlicensed and I don't give a fuck. And then he's
unlicensed. And that's terrible.
He smacks the shit out. And then he finally just goes ape shit. And he's like, fuck it, I don't care.
I love that where he's like, I am finally free. No more seatbelts for me. And Samuel Jackson like grabs his seatbelt and puts it on.
But we did see the part where you find out that his dad is like, thinks he's a complete douchebag. Like he's just the worst. So he goes through this moment where his like dad's going to tell him, I'm going to get your AAA rating back and all this. And then comes back and what does he say? Oh, you're a shit stain on my legacy.
Yo, get off my trash. I was like, oof. He lights that Jag on fire. It's like this 1960s Jaguar. I was like, oh, that hurt. Also, almost every car explodes in this movie.
Yeah.
And like, no matter what happens, it's lit on fire, explodes. Gets into a fender bender, explodes. The power goes out in a city, explodes.
Yeah.
Every car.
They hack the network, the whole fucking city explodes. Well, except for some random cars. Like there'd be random cars that got in worse accidents than the ones that just got like rear-ended and exploded that wouldn't explode. Yeah, like they would just roll down the street 6 miles. Yeah.
The agent gets like ran into a fucking bridge. The car like accordions, flips over. It's fine. He's fine. He gets out. He can make a call. He's fine.
So one of the better lines, like when they're in that chase scene and Ryan Reynolds is like saying, we need to have a decoy. And then like the other guy that's the better bodyguard, like goes through all the processes. Oh, yeah. Then he gets into like, and he's high as a kite at this moment. So he gets into the van to hotwire it. And he's like, so-and-so, he recognized me. We need to make sure we hurry up.
He would know all my moves.
Yeah, he's like, then it shows you, I don't know who any of these idiots are.
I don't recognize any of these losers.
Yeah.
Oh man, we should have had a decoy. Hey, they don't have a decoy. These are fucking amateurs.
We should have had this. Hey, they didn't do this either. And then it cuts and the whole scene of him driving is him dreaming because he's passed out in the front of the van high on lithium. Shit's great.
That got me. I was like, for a second, I was like, are these too high as well? Nope. It's just hallucinating.
But yeah, then the moment comes when they're putting together and they just randomly, like nobody's available. You're Interpol. You're an international policing agency and you have no agents available to go after these people. So you send a hitman and an ex-bodyguard.
There's literally 2 Interpol agents standing right next to that. And they're like, there's no one around.
Yeah.
There's 2 right there.
But then you get the famous line from the trailer of, you guys ready to go get your fuck on? And not with us. Or no, not with each other, with us.
That came out wrong.
That came out wrong too. And that's when the greatest line ever.
Oh my gosh.
This is
Javier loses it.
I just love that it cuts to, what is his name? Gary and what?
Gary and Johan.
And Johan's like, Gary, I think we're outnumbered here.
Yeah.
And Gary's like, no shit, Johan.
Well, yeah, they're dressed up like Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson's characters on this boat. So you think it's them at first.
Yeah.
And then it turns out it's them in disguise. They're the decoy. And like you said out here, I think we're surrounded. There's like 50 boats with guys.
There's like 9 jet skis.
It's like the entire Greek army is chasing these guys, and they just unload on them. They're shot
into Swiss cheese.
Yeah. And then they run them into a boat full of fucking oil and explosives. And the whole thing goes up.
There's barrels flying everywhere.
And then we see on this random little boat going by this whole ridiculous scene, Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson. And Ryan Reynolds just all perky and happy. I hope Gary and Johan are okay.
And then Samuel Jackson is like, what makes you think that they're okay? As they're floating in front of this ship that is now on fire because Gary and Johan flew into it.
And barrels of fuel are like flying off of it, like explosions.
Oh my gosh.
And Javier goes into this laughing fit where it's like these little giggles, right? Like, and then he has this moment where he's like, what am I? And then he breaks down laughing hard. And I'm sitting in the corner giggling. And Casey leans over to me and goes, is Javier okay? I'm like, no, I think he's broken. Because honestly, he just kept repeating, what am I watching?
That's the moment that I gave up on this movie. That's the moment where I'm just like, are you ready to get your fuck on? That cuts right into this scene. I'm just like, yeah, there are no rules. We have no rules in this movie anymore. Anything goes. Like,
oh man, so funny.
So, and it just gets like more terrible from there because they get to the back of the boat, right? And they're like talking about these levels of security that his dad would have. And out of the water pop up these like water powered flying men that are like making an announcement over an intercom to like put down your guns. And they don't even like aim.
Emerge from the ocean.
On these floating water things. They're so stupid. They're so impractical. Yeah, and then Ryan Reynolds just doesn't even look
under that water.
Yeah, he doesn't even look. He just pop, shoots them all.
No, like not very efficient or practical.
Yeah, they just all fall out. He's like, "There's level 2," because level 1 was the decoy, the guy that comes running out randomly. Then they think it's over, and then these guys come popping up out of the water. Oh fuck. Oh, shit was great. Well, and then we go into some more satire, right? Because then we have like the biggest gun on the planet with Antonio Banderas. He comes out with like some freaking light machine gun, 40 cal or 50 cal that he's holding with his hand, like Rambo style, right? And he's in this boat. It's a yacht, and he starts just unloading. The boat's gonna be shredded because he's just like and Sam Jackson's just jumping around, running, gets hit with a bullet in the leg, and I'm like, dude, he just lost a leg. The size of that gun, that leg is gone. He's like 12 feet away from you.
Yeah, he's got like a tiny little like 22 entry wound.
Yeah, and then the whole time that's happening, Ryan Reynolds is down fighting with Morgan Freeman's character hand to hand. And like the best line in this movie is he comes down and he's like, "You're wearing Kevlar." Because he gets him pissed and he's like, "I'm 90 years old. Like, of course I'm wearing Kevlar, you moron."
Because earlier in the movie, he made fun of Ryan Reynolds for wearing Kevlar.
Yeah. When he takes a bullet, he goes, "That looks like a freckle, son." They go into this hand-to-hand fight where the very spry, very fit Ryan Reynolds gets his ass handed to him for like 5 minutes by 90-year-old Morgan Freeman. And the editing was just hilarious. The jump cuts so that Morgan Freeman looked like he could fight.
Yeah.
The shit was funny as fuck.
That's what I was saying after the movie. I'm like, I feel bad for those guys. That probably had its own movie-sized budget to make it look like Morgan Freeman could fight.
Yeah, but it's funny because they made 90-year-old Morgan Freeman look like he could fight. But then you see these guys who are fit and they do the same kind of shit to make them look like they could fight. And I'm like, just the satire is just beautiful. Well, and then they have this.
And it still looked better than any Liam Neeson movie.
That is very fair. Well, and I love that they're making fun of this whole thing too, where they've got the giant drill, the stupidest drill ever, is drilling into this shit in the water. And there's a timer on it. So it drills through, and every other time they've done this, it was instant. It got into the box, they hit enter, and it exploded. Now all of a sudden we have some random 6-minute timer before it goes off.
The boat's rigged with explosives, so if the timer stops, the boat just explodes.
Yeah, like if they shut off, it just randomly explodes. Like, wait a minute, what if there was a problem and you actually had to shut it off? Yeah, everybody's dead. So like Morgan Freeman gets killed with the Swiss Army knife.
Oh yeah.
Still holding his gun, by the way. Like,
yeah, like shoot him.
But he just stands there going, "Oh, I'm gonna die now." Like,
how did he Anyone who's opened a Swiss Army knife knows how difficult it is to open that. How did he get that thing open mid-fight?
Well, you've got look, Swiss Army knives. These things have those big red bases and the little teeny knife.
The little it's like an inch long.
And it's sticking out of his throat, and he's bleeding more than anybody else in this movie has bled from his neck. And he didn't even notice it was there for like 2 minutes.
He didn't notice it until Ryan Reynolds told him.
Yeah, well, I love that he's sitting there, like you see the movie and you see his face, like the shot of Morgan Freeman's face, and you don't see the knife. And you should have seen the knife at that point from that shot. Then it cuts to Ryan Reynolds, he's like, the pen knife. And then it cuts back and shows this giant ass Swiss Army knife.
No one sees it coming.
Yeah, so stupid. And then well done, son. God. And then of course they trigger the failsafe to blow up the boat. You have the choice to save Greece or save yourself or something like that. And they all three run out of this exploding boat and they're okay. Yeah.
I'm like,
and they make it out.
Because with explosions, it's not just don't get hit by the fire. There is a certain amount of force from explosions. And that's typically what kills people.
Yeah.
They were fine. Yeah.
Just fine.
You just have to go underwater, obviously.
Well, after you've been hit by a couple of cars,
you build up a certain level of tolerance for sudden impacts.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. This movie was all over the place. But I have to talk about it. I was so entertained, guys.
Yeah, I was. I'm entertained just talking about it.
Sure.
Like, it's just like, you know what took me like kind of off guard in the beginning was the just complete disregard for like the sanctity of like sex and human life, marriage, like just a complete disregard for these things. You're talking about like she can't get pregnant because her pussy's too tight or like all sorts of stuff, and I'm just like, okay, this movie is starting out a very specific way.
Yeah,
and they did not let up the whole time.
Not even a little bit. Well, in the first one, they break her out of a mental institution. Like, I forgot about that. I was just sitting here thinking about it. So her character, like the whole thing is she is informing on Darius in the first movie. So like they're trying to get, and then he's trying to inform on another guy, and so like they're trying to kill him, Darius, so that he doesn't like, and that's where this whole movie gets all serious. But they literally break her out of an insane asylum in the first movie. So I mean, they just went like 100 levels higher than they did in the first movie, and threw all logic and care out the window. And some of the shit they say, like, you went to a fertility clinic to buy fresh eggs. You can't just go buy fresh eggs like it's the market, the grocery store. Scramble those things up.
Stupid.
Shit was great. Turns out he got shot in the balls and it was such a random moment where it's like, yeah, this thing was unsanctioned. You were unlicensed bodyguard in this moment. And they act like it was some big deal that he was an unlicensed bodyguard. Like it's illegal to be a bodyguard. Yeah. Actually, it's not, but whatever.
Maybe it is this movie. Europe. They've got a bunch of weird laws.
Maybe.
A lot of guns for, a continent that doesn't allow guns.
Yeah. No shit. God, that was funny. All right, should we rate this thing?
Yeah, I think I ran out of laughs.
Yeah, you're tapped out. Oh, I mean, I could get you because all I got to do is, man, I hope Gary and Johan are okay.
So stupid.
That's just so you know, listeners, you guys, that shit's gonna randomly come up in so many podcasts from here on out. I hope Gary and Johan are okay.
I hope Gary and Johan are okay.
It's just how lighthearted he was about it as they're exploding. Oh man, I hope Gary and Johan are okay.
And they were dead before they even got into
the explosion boat. Yeah. When they both took like 15 rounds. Oh shit. Okay. Let's rate this thing. All right. If you haven't listened to us before, we rate these movies on a 5-tiered scale, 0 to 5, 0 being just hot garbage, 5 being an absolute gem of a movie. I'm not starting this mess.
I don't want to start either. Ian, why don't you start?
I'm like the most unsure of how to rate this thing.
Okay, let me go. All right, I'll go. Okay, this movie is so funny. You need to watch it with just a bunch of friends who laugh at stupid things, because the environment that this movie makes is amazing.
Oh, yeah.
With that said, it is the stupidest movie I've ever seen. There is nothing redeeming about this movie as far as an artistic, like cinematic viewpoint. You know, this movie's terrible. It's awful. With that said, I am going to give this a 4.
Good for you, Javier. Good for you, buddy.
And I'm going to take the same stance that I did in the spoiler free, which is I watch movies to be entertained, and I was entertained during this movie. So that alone, it deserves a 4, and I'm giving it that. I could be talked down, but no one talked me down. So that's the bar I'm setting.
Well, if anything, I think our conversation led me to want to score it higher, because I'm still entertained. 12 hours later, I'm laughing my ass off about this stupid ass movie. And I'll tell you, Casey and I, we got in the car after we when we separated ways last night after watching the movie, and Casey said, "So what are you going to rate this movie?" And I'm like, I have no fucking idea. I was like, and I told her my initial, here's what if I had to rate it right now, it would be a 3. And I said, but the problem is I know how I work, and we'll start talking about it, and I'll either hate it more than I thought I did, or I'll love it more than I thought I did. So my score can change as we have these conversations. And I feel like that's what I love about what we do in this podcast is I have a very clear by myself rating when I'm done with a movie, like a knee-jerk reaction. But a lot of times it changes after we discuss it, because I'm like, I might have missed something. And for this movie, like last night, I didn't actually catch the satire of this movie until this morning when I was thinking about what I was going to say of it. And I was like, God, it's really just making fun of the ridiculous shit that we let go of in action movies. It's kind of like next week we're reviewing Fast and Furious 9. Those movies they're not self-aware, like they are, but we let so much ridiculous shit go for the sake of entertainment. And if I don't do the same with this movie, because it's actually saying, look, we realize this is dumb and this makes no sense, but we're going to lean into it and have fun with it. How am I going to be okay with that? Because we let so much stupid shit go, dude, for the sake of entertainment.
Furious, the way people view Fast and Furious is the way that I view Marvel. I'm like, they have a formula and they pump out the same stupid ass movies every so often. It's literally what Marvel does. So if you don't like Fast and Furious, you guys are hypocrites.
Well, and here's the thing, and I admit that, Javier. Like, I watch Fast and Furious, all the Fast and Furious, especially like the last 4 Fast and Furious movies, and I'm like
the first one is like, oh, you got a story. It's like kind of good. Like, I could get behind this.
I mean, it's a pretty low budget, poorly made film, but it's entertaining because the story's different. It's new. It was something different. Now it's like, what the fuck are we watching? But
did you watch the one with The Rock in Samoa?
Yeah. Jason Statham where he's holding on to the chain in the helicopter with one arm.
I think we did a podcast on that one, actually.
We didn't, but we talked. It's actually one of the things that led us to do a podcast was that movie and talking about it.
Oh, yeah. Stupid movie. Sorry, I didn't mean
anyway. No, it's okay. It's a nice little rant that allows me to move into this movie. But I had so much fun watching this movie, and I think I would have had a lot of fun. Like, Casey and I go see a lot of movies, and thankfully, with COVID winding down, us being vaccinated and being able to go to the movies again and feel comfortable with it, we are starting to see these movies. But it was hilariously fun, even if it was just the 2 of us. But the fact that 4 of us went, like you said, Javier, go with a group of friends and go looking to just have a hell of a good time with each other. And this movie will leave you satisfied walking out. It will leave you ashamed of how much fun you had, because I still feel the shame bubbling up within me. About how much fun I had with this movie, because I loved it. I'm
embarrassed to give it a 4. But it is what
you should be, but it's fun. And I seriously talk about this movie. And you watch that quote there will be quotes from this movie that will become staples in this podcast, because I laugh my ass off every time I say them. With that said, it's a terrible movie. The story's dumb. The action's dumb. There's no real plot. People get hit by cars and walk away while other people trip and fall and die. It's just so ridiculous, but it's entertaining. So as a movie and a critical perspective, it's terrible. From an entertainment perspective, which is what I'm in movies for, and part of the reason that I got into this podcast thing was to give someone a non-critic, professional critic point of view from movies, because I I think critics just spend too much time on the art itself and not enough on the entertainment value.
Critics cannot be trusted.
Sure, because they're looking at it from like, I got a PhD in this shit, and I got to tell you, from a film perspective, it's great. Well, yeah, but it wasn't entertaining at all. It sucked. This movie's entertaining as fuck, and I can't give it a 4, but I am giving it a 3.5. And I will watch this movie again. In fact, this is the type of movie that if I still flipped channels, every time I saw it on, I would stop and watch it no matter where I was at in this movie.
This is going to be a guilty pleasure movie.
Absolutely.
My wife hates Ryan Reynolds because he's the same character, right?
Sure.
And he's in movies like this that are like kind of raunchy.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to watch this like behind her back.
Dude, you come watch it at my house anytime because I'll laugh my ass off with you.
Deal.
All right, Ian, round us out.
You bet. I don't know how much rounding out I'm going to do. I'm just going to echo what you guys have said. I think JJ put it best, or I can't remember who said it first, but you're going to be ashamed of how much you enjoy this movie, and I definitely am. And I haven't laughed that hard in a movie for a really long time, and I feel like I need to factor that in because it's just on two different sides of the spectrum. Like, it's such a terribly made movie. It's hard not to laugh, even with the content. And we didn't mention, but at the end, like, they do so well at setting up these jokes because over the time, like, you know, Sonia's wanting to be a mother. They're telling her how terrible she is. You know, they may not be able to have kids, and it leads up, let's adopt. And at the end of this movie, they're all sitting there after all the action is done, and Ryan Reynolds gets this paper and signs it, thinking he's getting his AAA license back, and it's adoption paperwork. Like that. Jokes like that, they're not. It's clever at all, but at the same time, they landed so well. With that said, like, I think I'm going to give it a 3, not because it's in the middle as an average movie, but because it's so terribly bad, but also wildly entertaining that I'm going to come more in at the 3 range. So yeah.
That's probably the smart way to do it. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time. So that's why it got a 4 from me. And like anything that can make me laugh that hard, like, you're going to get more points, you know?
Yeah.
The only other time I've laughed that hard on something on the screen was in Practical Jokers. So.
Gotcha. Well, I was pretty impressed too. And we were watching it last night, and Ian's not wrong. Like, he laughs, but not like out loud a lot. And he doesn't laugh like as often. Like, Javier and I laugh at pretty much everything at some point.
Yeah,
if it's in our wheelhouse. Ian, though, has like the very specific sense of humor. And I was laughing last night because I was sitting here and I'd hear Javier just cackling with me. But then I'd hear Ian over there laughing a couple of seats down going, fuck, I've never heard Ian laugh this consistently ever, which was awesome.
His shoulders are bobbing from trying to stifle some giggles.
Yeah, like I was trying to quiet myself in the theater, and I almost couldn't catch my breath at one point. It was bad.
It was so funny. Yeah, go see this movie if for no other reason than just laugh. And like Javier said, it's best with friends. Take a group, go see this thing, especially like those friends that maybe you're embarrassed to be out with because you're like, oh God, their sense of humor is it's embarrassing. Take those friends. Mm-hmm. And if you need a friend, I'll watch it with you because that shit's hilarious. I haven't laughed that hard, that consistently in a long time.
If we are the only friends that'll watch movies with you, there's a series of other things in your life that you'll probably want to get straight first. But like,
that's true.
I'll watch a movie with you.
Yeah. I was like, you'll probably fit in our group, but you might want to get some shit checked out. All right. Well, fellas, it was a fun movie. Like I said, next week is Fast 9. Yeah, Fast 9. We'll have to make some plans to go watch that one so that I can just groan and moan the whole time because, God, it's going to be ridiculous.
I feel like this one that we watched fits perfectly for making fun of what Fast and Furious is, like, to a T.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like you said, Javier, you brought up Hobbs and Shaw, where The Rock is driving on a truck, got a hold of a roll bar and a chain, and is stopping a helicopter from flying away. Like, if he could hold on, he would have been ripped in half.
Yeah, if that was possible, it would have been ripped in half. And even if he wasn't, he would have just pulled the truck off the cliff.
Yeah.
So there's a series of impossibilities, but assuming that it all was possible, anyway.
Hey, maybe this one and Fast 9 are in the same universe. You never know. So with that said, we appreciate you tuning in. Check out our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, What's Our Verdict. Yeah, chime in. Let us know what you want us to watch. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye now.
Cinemagic out.